Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and a very warm welcome on this Monday's podcast here at the Daily GSPN podcast coming to you from the Premier League. My name is Michał Thompson and today I am joined by our overseas compadre, Michał. How are you, sir?
Oh, hello, Mikey. It's so nice to be here. Like a brand new role for me. Well, it's been going for me, as for any other Man United fan out there. I'm struggling, but hey, I've gotten used to it. It's been over a decade. I'll get over it eventually.
I mean, I have already upset you in our text chat leading up to this. I talked about discussing the relegation battle, and only until you questioned United, you realised that I actually meant them as part of the relegation zone. Oh man, what a depressing time to be alive. However, this weekend's fixtures have thrown some cracking results out. Not many shocks, but there definitely are talking points from the weekend. And I'd like to dive straight in to the thing that we all want to know about. The thing that we all want to touch upon is Liverpool and Arsenal, top of the Premier League. And as we've already discussed and mentioned just before we came on, that neither of them really had results that were a shock to us. Liverpool managed to hold on at Anfield against Wolves. They went 2-0 up and seemed comfortable, and then Wolves got a consolation goal and then started to knock on the door. But Liverpool saw it out, got the 3 points, and the same for Arsenal. Away at Wolves, managed to win that game again. I've made a mistake there.
Right.
Away at Leicester, my bad. And I think the result basically went the way that you would want, not for Arsenal, but definitely for both teams at the top of the Premier League, pushing on. And I'd like to get your insight into, one, the games this weekend, but also how you foresee the Premier League lead now. Is it too much of a task for Arsenal to claw back, or do you think that there is a possibility?
Okay, I think that because of the result that Arsenal got, that 2-0 victory away at Leicester, that is a clean sheet. That is also a very important thing. They are still 7 points behind Liverpool, of course, obviously, and I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon. But then again, I remember before those games from last weekend, there was like a big talk about what Arsenal is going to do. Kai Havertz is injured. They no longer have a good, or at least somehow a good centre forward up to par. So, Arsenal is probably shaking in their boots, and Liverpool could basically trying up their new, the crown of the Premier League right now already in February. But then Ethan and Nwaneri came along, and also with a great performance from this player, not to mention a sub who scored 2 goals and settled the game, Mikel Merino. That could be the answer to Arsenal problems, really. So I wouldn't rule anything out. This is Premier League. Anything can happen. But with that being said, I have to give a shout out to this Liverpool team, as much as it hurts me as for a Man United fan to say. But wow, they are an absolutely... this is a squad which is capable of smashing absolutely anyone. And of course, somebody would say that, Wolves did have some sort of a chance in the second half. Well, perhaps they did, but again, the feature of a quality team is that even if they're down, they can still bring themselves right back up, and they can just take it to their opponents, and this is exactly what they did. So yeah, 7-point difference, and with the remaining fixtures, we actually had this discussion not so long time ago with Louis about the chances of Liverpool. And of course, as a Liverpool fan, Louis was super cautious. He said that he's a pessimist in nature, so he doesn't want to, bring a lot of he doesn't want to hype up it too much. But to be honest, looking at their fixture, like with Aston Villa, Manchester City, Newcastle still coming up, Chelsea, Arsenal still coming up on May 10th. We still have to wait for coronation. And here I will completely agree. They are, right now, the most likely team to clinch the title at the end of May. But we're just going to have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's 39 points to play for, and as you've already said, if both teams manage to get full points, we know where it's going to go. But history kind of tells us that it's pretty unlikely
Yeah.
that Arsenal will catch. A little stat is when the teams behind the league leaders have also played 24 games, 25 now, I think it is. Then the biggest deficit overhauled in the Premier League era was 5 points.
Hmm.
So it's already a massive ask for
Yeah.
Arsenal. It's 3 games where Liverpool drop points or lose, and Arsenal win. And I just don't see Arsenal going through now without
Hmm.
dropping points. I can still see them as a team that will struggle in fixtures. But I did want to mention, and I'll probably say his name wrong or pronounce his name wrong. Nawari for
Hmm.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
I thought that the game against Leicester, they were really poor. Arsenal as a team, they lacked a lot of imagination, creativity.
Hmm.
But he was constantly probing for Arsenal. He was a difference for me.
Hmm.
Keen to be on either side, either foot. He's crossing, he's short. He was really unlucky. He hit the post
Hmm.
on his shot. And yeah, it was a nightmare for the defenders, for Leicester defenders to manage. So I thought he did really well. And then, as you've already said, Marino, who came on, he said he'd play in goal if it meant that he got to start on the pitch, which is a great attitude to have as a player at a club. That's the kind of attitude you want from your players.
Hmm.
So it's looking really well for both teams.
Yeah.
But it will be remain to be seen. I'm sure we will talk about that as we continue. But talking about teams that are doing well, you actually wanted to bring up Brighton.
Hmm.
Brighton had the first game of the weekend. They were at home again against their Chelsea rivals, and these teams probably know each other inside out.
Yeah.
3-0 was the victory. And for me, I wanted to talk about the Matoma first touch from the long ball, which was a thing of beauty. Terrible defending, but he still had to bring it down and finish. And he continued his scoring form against Chelsea. Um, and for Brighton were 2-0 up after 38 minutes. It's a scrappy goal that Chelsea didn't deal with, and yeah, I won't talk too much about Minter because I think that's where you want to go with it. I'll lead you on to you there.
Well, Mente's performance was absolutely stunning, and again, I think somebody could actually start asking questions like, okay, hold on, guys. So, is Brighton actually a good team, or is Chelsea that bad? I think the answer to this question is that Brighton really took it to Chelsea. They did not give them even an inch of space, especially in midfield. And Minte, he basically capitalized on both of those occasions where he scored those both goals, and the rating of 9.5, absolutely deserving. I mean, he was an absolute nightmare for Chelsea players. I mean, with expected goals of 0.36, he scored two. So those were not the easiest of situations to score from, and yet he still did. Not to mention that he was winning those ground duels. He was very good in the air. He was really awesome. He was awesome, but it was like a joy to watch, which cannot be said about the Chelsea side, and that actually is another thing that I want to bring up because Cole Palmer was nowhere to be seen. And Kunku, same thing. Neto, oh my God, one of the worst performances I've ever seen from him. And Kukurea being booed mercilessly from Brighton supporters every single time he actually touched the ball. And what do you think, Mikey? Because I'm actually really interested in your opinion here. Like, is Mr. Enzo knocking on the maybe not the heavens door, but the hell's door, or does he still do what it takes?
I don't know. We talked about Ange potentially getting sacked, and we'll
Yeah.
go into that game later. But after today's result, it's another step away. I think Enzo Maresca was asked when Chelsea were in a rich vein of form whether they could be title challengers, and he point blank said no. And at the point, I just thought it was a very strange thing to do. He went above where managers generally play it down. He went a little bit further than that, And ever since, there has been an inconsistency with the club that is transparent on the pitch. I don't want to take too much away from Brighton, though. I do think that Brighton, as a team, have managed Chelsea over those last two games very, very well. I mean, Chelsea were dire on Friday, really, really poor. And as you've already alluded to, so many players going missing. But I also think that Brighton probably didn't allow them to create very much. They managed big players well, and when those big players aren't playing, it becomes an even harder test. So yeah, Brighton, sitting in 10th place, mid-table, good vein of results, and Chelsea sat just outside European football at the minute on joint points, just a worse goal difference than Bournemouth. So it could all change. There's so many things that could change from here. We're going to talk about Villa shortly, and how their season's looking. But the gaps in this table are very slim. So a few results in the right direction, as we've already seen with some other teams, can put you in a really good position.
Not to mention that, just when I just glanced at the upcoming fixtures for Chelsea, to February 25th, this will be a perfect opportunity at home at Stamford Bridge to basically amp up the goal difference that they are so badly need. Because why am I saying that? Well, that's because Southampton is visiting Stamford Bridge, so that will be a perfect opportunity for Chelsea to get some goals going, because there is no way that Southampton will be able to stop them. I think they already gotten used to the fact that next season they'll be playing a championship. Let's face it.
Yeah, so in my notes, I actually wrote down this question while I was watching that game. How difficult must it be? And we don't need to really go into it, but it's just a question I've wondered. How difficult must it be being in a team that is going to go down? As a player, you must start thinking, I'm going to try and be an individual that might get me a good transfer that keeps me in the league. But as a game-to-game basis, you must be, as a team, so disheartened with the chance or the opportunity of getting a result.
Yeah.
I think for everyone involved in that club at this stage, there's still 13 games of football, and you've still got thousands of people who are going to turn up and watch you every week. So it's not as though you can just throw the towel in. Yeah, it's damage limitation, but I just think psychologically that's probably one of the hardest tests in a professional sport. Knowing that you're currently out of it and not being able to do anything to match any team that you're playing against or most teams that you're coming up against.
Yeah, and also, like you mentioned, like you asked this question, like how must this player feel? I mean, it also depends on the situation as far as the national team is concerned, because, I just can't help but look at it from the perspective of Southampton's captain, Jan Bednarek. Who is like a couple episodes ago, I maybe outrageously said that he is the guy who doesn't know how to defend, but apparently stats, they make me shut my mouth, because according to the stats, Bednarek is one of the better center backs. So perhaps I was wrong, and that's actually the thing, because looking at the Poland national team, all right, we have a big problem with our defenders. People say that this is basically the worst era for Polish football as far as defenders go. So in our situation, a Jan Bednarek from a team which is already facing relegation and it's almost confirmed to drop down to championship, we still take him. And in a normal situation, for example, like if Thomas Tuchel were to look through all of the English players playing at the Premier League, he would absolutely rule out the likes of Jan Bednarek. He wouldn't even be able to dream of making it to the national team. And the only thing that is keeping Jan Bednarek's let's just say passion alive is the fact that he still has his guaranteed spot at the national team, and that Polish team coach Michał is still looking at him. Because if it wasn't for that, I do not really believe that Jan Bednarek would be that motivated. So I think national team is one of the reasons why he's still trying.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. And then, like players that still stand out for me are like Ramsdale. He showed his class. He made huge saves against Bournemouth this weekend. But yeah, as a club, it must be very difficult. But I tell you what isn't difficult: choosing our advertisements. And today we have a special new advertisement. Bioniq, ladies and gentlemen, ears down, listening in.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Absolutely. Get what's right for you right now. I know we do, and that is football and Premier League football at that.
Yay.
So, our middle section of today's podcast, I wanted to touch on the shock results of the weekend for me. Villa were playing Ipswich, the team who were fighting for points, any points they can scrap at the bottom of the league as they sit top of the relegation zone. And that finished 1-1. We saw Marcus Rashford introduced, which is well worth a mention. And then the other game that I wanted to talk about was Forest against Fulham. And the reason that it's a little bit crazy for me. The reason that Forest are coming up, in my opinion, as a shock result is because of their level of over-exceeding this year and the position that they find themselves in, which can't be disappointing. But you've got to look at the results that they're having, and to maintain Champions League football, which is the expectation that we are looking at now for them deep into the season. They've got to be picking up results at Craven Cottage. It was a 100th meeting between Fulham and Forest, and it really didn't disappoint as a neutral. Last week, I was watching Traore, and I thought he doesn't do enough for me to warrant the hype around him.
Right.
And crikey, did he prove me wrong in this game? He was all over the place. They didn't have an answer for him, and there were signs that Forrest got away with. A couple of times on the right-hand side, he managed to link up with Jimenez, like a close header that just went wide. And Forrest, for me, didn't react quick enough. And it wasn't soon until, that relationship actually linked up, and the impact that Traore was having down that side was phenomenal. Chris Wood scored again. He is the man on fire in Premier League football, and I think he had an element of luck with him. A little deflection that went just past the post, took it away from the stretch of the goalkeeper. But you've got to make your own luck in this game. He took his chance and a mistake. And let's be honest, Forest didn't have any other chances. They took advantage of a mistake. And then, the set piece was the difference at the end. But what a great team to watch. I really enjoyed it. And both teams made that very entertaining. It's an interesting one. Ipswich and Villa, for me as well, was a bit of a shock. We saw Marcus Rashford play. How did you feel seeing Rashford at Villa?
To be honest, I am very happy for him. And I'll tell you something else. Perhaps somebody would react just like in those romantic movies. Then somebody is just someone is hurt and they just see their ex just moving on with somebody else, and that person just having second thoughts. Oh, did I make a right decision by letting them go? I think this is how United fans can feel right now, because and also the fact that the system that Unai Emery has introduced at Villa suits Rashford at all. It suits Rashford perfectly, and and basically, lo and behold, his rating for this game 8.1 out of 10. That is a superb performance by Marcus Rashford. So I'm really happy for him, and I just really keep my fingers crossed that his career at Villa gets, let's just say, gets another spirit and gets some, second life, because he really, really deserves it. And as far as I really want to praise the Ipswich side, going one man down, finishing the game with just 10 men, managing to get this tie against a team which is a Champions League caliber right now, Aston Villa. It's really amazing, and I believe Ipswich Town is everything that Southampton would like to be, but they're just not, for many reasons. This is what I can say about that. Oh, and of course, Palmer, amazing performance for a goalkeeper, 8.2. And of course, fully deserving the title of the player of the match of that game. He prevented 1.79 of goals, of course, talking about statistics. Amazing. And actually, this brings up another question while talking about Villa games specifically, is that European Cups, they can be a blessing, and they can also be damning as far as the form goes. And I think this is what we're seeing with Villa right now, because Unai Emery, he kept repeating that, they're getting tired, the schedule is really unforgiving, it's merciless, and we've got a lot of guys who are injured. But, those guys will be fighting for best places in Europe. And of course, this season they will be fighting for the trophy. How far are they going to go as far as Champions League goes? We really do not know. It really depends on the form of the day. It depends on the form of their opponents. But I really think that Aston Villa's squad is just not managing it as far as the stamina goes. They are pretty fatigued, and they would just love for just some calamity to happen in the world, so that they could just suspend the league for 3 weeks, so that they could just recover. Really, we do not wish that, but this is basically what they're hoping on.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point you make. Villa are currently sat at ninth, and I don't disagree with you. I think their form away from European football has definitely taken a dip. That said, I think that it kind of orchestrates the beauty of the Premier League. That there's a 6-point swing, and if results went their way after 2 games, they could be in the Champions League spaces. They could get up to 4th place. But the other way is they could quite happily be in 12th as well.
Yeah.
So they are sat at a point in a pendulum. If I was a Villa fan, what would I prioritise? I think that's a really difficult question. You want them to go as far as they can in the Champions League, because it's been so long that you've been in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's probably 2 approaches to that answer. The short term, you would want them to go as far as they can in the Premier League and jeopardise their league form. Long term, if you want to build a club that is classed as a European club, I would concentrate on Premier League football, building a squad, and ensure that I've got that European space. So be it to the detriment of the form in the Champions League. But I think it's a really tricky dilemma that they're finding, and you're right. There's gaps definitely within the squad that are showing, and I think we'll probably see that with Forest. When and if they manage to hold on to this Champions League football. We've also got Bournemouth that could be talking about Europa League. So yeah, it's no easy feat getting there, but I think the hardest challenge for clubs is maintaining it. Yeah. But maintaining a high platform is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But platforms such as Zencastr do it without any problem whatsoever.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Wow. Shout out to the little notes in the background there. Beautiful work. I love that. And from one advert to, what we've watched, we're recording this a day earlier. We've just witnessed United lose 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. I'm not going to talk too much about it.
Thank you.
Out of fear for losing my sanity. I'd love to get your take on the game. What you thought about the game?
To be honest, I'm going to surprise you, and I'm not going to moan too much about Manchester United because I did see some positives. And I think positive number one. Okay, I'll get to negative sides, but first I want to get the positives out of the way because I want to cheer up. Plain and simple. So, once I saw the starting lineup for Man United, I was happy that Ugarte is out of the starting lineup. I think that he did not bring anything to the team, and he was not like an added value. So I was actually glad to see Casemiro back in the starting lineup. As far as the injuries go, yeah, we can't get around that. And that was basically the best starting lineup that we could produce, like with the squad that we have right now. And, well, again, I've been saying this for so long, but that is still true. Remove Bruno Fernandes from the equation and the math just fails. Bruno was, again, the guy, especially in the second half, who was pushing that United attack. Garnacho, he was making the runs. I really liked how he was creating chances for United on his own. But then again, he was dreadfully missing. And that was that's the negative part, that Garnacho had so many opportunities and just bottled them all. Matthijs de Ligt, he had a good performance, even though this conceded goal scored by Maddison, I think it was his fault. Because if you are a defender and all of a sudden you get shocked that a forward of the opposite team is just is out of nowhere appearing in your own penalty box unmarked, then you're in trouble, because you're supposed to expect that a forward of the opposite team could be in that penalty box. So I think that goal was on De Ligt. I might be wrong, but this is just how I saw it. Finally, United were attacking. I actually saw a team which wanted to attack, which wanted to be positive. And I think if we had... let me just look at the list of missing players here, because I do not remember all of them off the top of my head. But if we had Lisandro Martinez fit, if we had even Mason Mount, if we had Amad Diallo, that was like the most important missing piece of a puzzle. If we had all those guys, even if they came on, for those final 30 minutes of the game, I think Tottenham would crumble and they would basically bottle it, because they would just go from 1-0 to 1-2. I really think this is what would have happened, but unfortunately, we can't do that. Well, unfortunately for Man United fans, kudos to Tottenham, because that is a victory that they actually needed. And but there are some positives to take out of this game from Man United side.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't think it was an awful watch, although it was at times very challenging. I just think the level of quality is what was let down today. Tottenham were there for the taking. I don't think that they were a side that were very good, and it just wasn't. There wasn't enough quality on the pitch to make that count. You start with your forward line, Xerxes and Højlund. For me, I just don't. I think I see elements of their game that in the future will be very good. But the decision making on the ball, the speed of which they move the ball on, it's so infuriating to watch. And I just think I agree with Casemiro, but I also think, he looks a little bit like an old man. He looks like he's always close to getting a red card. He doesn't break the game up as well as he used to, in my opinion. Hence why Fernandes had to be so deep at times. The new signing looks awful. I can't say anything better. I've not watched him do anything today that I thought, you know what, I get that. I'm a bit lost. I thought the back three played well. Onana surprisingly looked a little bit more secure with his hands. And yeah, fair play to Tottenham. They held on, and maybe Ange has kept his job for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, and also, actually, I want to ask you about Man United just quickly before we move on to some other things, because we have to talk about relegation battle here. This upcoming summer will be huge, because let's face it, once this season is over, Ruben Amorim will ask for a lot of checks in blanco. He will ask for a lot of bags to put the stuff of all the players' stuff inside, so that he could just send them packing, because there will be a revolution in United squad. So my question to you is, of course, if I can ask one, if you allow me, of course, is exactly how many players of this squad should be gone at the end of the season?
Well, let's just take the starting 11. You keep Onana. I would have not removed De Gea, but that's a different story for another time. Mazwari, I think he's great. Harry Maguire, if you need him as an additional centre back, keep him in the squad. De Ligt, they won't get rid of coming into the team so soon, and I think actually isn't awful. There's just a lack of pace for me with those two names that I've just read. I know that you're not Delor's biggest fan, and many of my friends aren't. I think he's a very consistent player. Bruno Fernandes, keep. Casemiro, get rid of. Dorgu can go for me. Joshua Zirkzee can go. Keep hold of Højlund, because I think there's potential. 100% keep hold of Garnacho, because he will only get better when he's got time on his side. And I'd love to talk you through the bench, but I don't know any of them, because they're all teenagers who I've never heard of or seen play, because that is the state of the club at the minute. So you need a lot of money to fix a problem, but I think the one thing I do like is that there's a system and there's an intent, and if this can work, I think that'll be enough for United fans at the minute. If they can gain a bit of consistency and an identity, then it'll definitely feel a little bit more on track.
By the way, like just one more quick question: when was the last time you saw just only one sub being delivered from your team? Because to be honest, I do not remember the last time when I saw this little substitutions in a game.
Absolutely, and that tells you how much Amorim knew of his bench. He had players on there that he was trusting in the coaching staff. I'm under no doubt about that. And you've got people on there that need to be changed. No. Like Casemiro can't carry a full 90 minutes. No wonder he was the person who kept him off. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a great place for United fans, but I'm sure we'll talk about it again even more.
Yeah, the season just has to end.
Yeah,
from
sure.
Man United perspective, really, it just has to end, and then full revolution, full steam ahead. And I wouldn't be surprised if 50% of the squad would get rid of, like would be gotten rid of. I really wouldn't be surprised at all.
No. Well, it remains to be seen. But before we do jump on to our shout-outs for the weekend, let's hear a little bit more about GSPN. Crikey, you've sent me under talking about United. GSPN people.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
That's us, ladies and gents. GSPN. We are the daily English Premier League podcast. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and all the social medias out there. Make sure you comment on anything that we've talked about, because I know that you will disagree with some of the things that we both say, and it's important to get your feedback too. Now, we finish today's podcast with a lovely little segment that we've added in about standout performers, anything that we've noticed that we want to talk about, teams, whatever it is that have caught our fancy. And I would like to kick off with the Egyptian prince blessing Manchester with 3 goals, and a performance that was worth taking note in. I think he's played very well since he's come into the squad. I can see how he's adapted to the new system that Pep's trying to create. And yeah, a massive shout out for him, getting a fantastic performance under his belt, and another fan favourite for the City fans. But while I'm on that topic, as always, I like to ask a quick quiz question. So if I can find it, I am going to ask you a really quick one. So
here we go. Okay.
You've got 30 seconds to name as many players from February 2021, when this was taken. There are 13 players to have scored 5 or more Premier League hat-tricks. So I want you to name as many as you can in 30 seconds for me. Your time starts now.
Oh, God. Oh, no. You've just killed me. Oh, no. Okay. So, okay. Let's just go for Erling Haaland. He must have scored a hat trick. If that was, of course, the question, if I remember.
So players that have scored 5 Premier League hat tricks.
5 Premier League hat tricks.
Massive strikers that have blessed the Premier League.
Oh, goodness. Oh, God. Oh, God. Erling Haaland. Who knows? Maybe... Oh, God. You know what? I really suck in this trivia. I really do suck in this trivia.
Let me rattle off a few names for you. Alan Shearer. Dimitar Berbatov, Harry Kane, Luis Suarez, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, Robin van Persie, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Sergio Aguero, Thierry Henry, Wayne Rooney, and the oldest name on there, I think, is Ian Wright. I might be wrong about that. Not sure.
You know what? I think I misunderstood the question, because I thought that you were asking me about like some recent guys, and that's why I just shoot out Erling Haaland, Mohamed Salah. I completely misunderstood the question. Like it was supposed to be of all time. Okay.
Yeah. My bad. But a little bit of trivia for anyone who's listening. It's an incredible feat to score 3 goals in the Premier League, but to do it 5 times, it takes a lot of effort. And Mamouche, and I completely agree with you, Erling Haaland will be one of those people on that list without a doubt very, very soon. So for me, that's the City takeaway. Mamouche is a prospect to be watched. What about you, Michał? Where would you go?
You know what? Just to add on to what you just said there about the Marmoush performance, we have to talk about Newcastle's approach to that game, because I remember not too long time ago I was praising Newcastle's approach to defending. The way how they neutralized Arsenal's offense was just a thing of beauty. And Eddie Howe was basically the master of that game, because they did not allow for any space whatsoever for Arsenal. At this game, I do not think that the structure was destroyed. I just think that he wanted to go more offensive, because he had a feeling, okay, Manchester City, they came on from this battle in the Champions League against Real Madrid. They're probably tired. They lost. Their morale is probably not as high, like not in this position as it should be. But so come on, maybe let's just go for the kill. And I think that's what got them punished. Because if there's anything you know about Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, is that you should never underestimate them. And this is exactly what happened. Marmoush, 3 goals. Ilkay Gundogan, out of all people, with an assist. That is, wow. Well, I'll be darned. Let's put it this way. So yeah, great performance, and I absolutely agree with that shout out of the weekend. And my shout out of the weekend would be something that we've already talked about, but it really needs to be underlined. Kaoru Mitoma's nightmare from the perspective of Chelsea fans, as he scores again. He's just got the Chelsea's number. I really, really like, just like we said, with the touch, with the goal. That was really, really good performance for Mitoma, and I'm just really looking forward to what he's going to be doing in the next fixture. Well, fingers crossed that he will continue to have such amazing touches and such amazing goals. Yeah, and you know what? I still feel salty after this trivia, you know? Oh my God. It was such an easy question. I was just like, I don't know. And Wayne Rooney, Dimitar Berbatov, they were from the Man United squad, which I adored.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm ashamed.
Don't worry.
Shame.
Turn up next week and you'll have a chance to redeem yourself, I'm sure.
I just hope that there will be a chance for redemption.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in. That's been Game Week 25 reviewed, signed, sealed and delivered by the Daily English Podcast. Make sure you give us a follow, but for now it's farewell from me and Michał.
Thank you so much, and that's been a pleasure. And I'll try to somehow brush up my knowledge next time.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.